Yeah, good morning, students. Uh, we'll start our new topic. It means the subject name is Innovation Management. In this, we are going to start with a new topic that is nothing but process involved in R&D. What do you mean by R&D? In the last class, we discussed R&D is nothing but research and development. So, what are the steps are involved? What are the significance are going to be taken place? We will learn one by one. The next slide. Just have a look here. Now, these are the stages are the steps of process involved in R&D research and development. The first step is basic research and invention. So in the basic research and invention, we are having two sources. One is the primary data, our primary source of data, secondary data source. What do you mean by primary source? Primary source is nothing but whether the investigation or the research is taking place at the first time, and secondary source after that, like means after doing the research, all the with the help of the recorded resources, we are going to take the data. In the primary source, invention will be takes place. That means inspection will be taking place. They have to do the inquiry, the requirement. The examples of newspaper, magazines, these are the examples of primary sources. And secondary sources, textbooks, already recorded one, biographies or website, which is already the data is available with us. That is called secondary sources. Now, in the coming to the first step, that is basic research and invention, we are going to learn in depth in our upcoming slides. Now, the second step is applied research and functional prototype. So, what is the main function? That means after collecting the data, they will go for the applied research. They want to implement either it is functionable or not. So after collecting the necessary information, researcher peoples or the expert peoples will connect. Research can be conducted by making use of functional prototypes like statistical and marketing techniques. What are the statistics tools or techniques will be there? They will utilize that for identifying or implementing the new rules and regulations with the help of the old data or information, either by primary source or secondary source. And marketing techniques, what are the marketing techniques and tools are there? Those they will utilize it, and because of this, in the market the firm will run in a very fast way for the growth of the product in the market. Now, third step is engineering prototypes. What is the main purpose of engineering prototypes? It will save the time and cost. Timing, it will save, that means you are going to save your efforts, time and cost. Price, it means. Again, in engineering prototype, we are having two types. One is a 3D computer modeling, or it is also known as three-dimensional computer modeling, and free from fabrication. What does it mean? We are going to learn in our upcoming slide. It has been explained clearly. The fourth one is pre-production prototype. It is also known as pilot production prototype. Before production, what are the data we should have to collect and how we should have to utilize it? Next, fifth one is product testing and modification. As it is one of the topic, the concept of marketing tools, that means modification and test, that means brand modification, brand testing, all these things we learn in the last class. Now, initial production and sales, what is the main purpose? What is the initial production and sales will be taking place over here. Now we'll go to the first step, that is the basic research and invention. Now, basic research and invention, what does it include? It includes information is collected from two sources, either from primary or from secondary. Primary source such as newspaper, magazines, etc. are there. But what does primary source really means? Primary source is an original source that documents an event in time, a person or an idea. It can be documents or the event in time, what is going on in present, or as a person or an idea, what live is going on, like IPL cricket match is going on, how does it takes place. Now, the raw data, some other examples of primary sources are raw data. Original research are the research taken place by the books or the journal articles, diary entries, letters and other correspondence. Photographs, artigraphs or videos or audios broadcastly, eyewitnesses accounts or interviews or mock or debate. All these things will comes in the primary source. And legal documents, government documents, public records or birth certificate, death certificate, like government recruitment took place. All these things will comes in the legal documents, records or other documents created by organizations. All these informations are related with the primary source. Now we will go for the secondary source. Secondary source build upon primary resources by analyzing, interpreting, synthesizing or discussing them. Examples would be books. So primary set, after collecting the sources from primary, the secondary sources will depend on it. They will analyze it once again, they will interpret it, they will synthesize it, they are discussing them. And what are the examples of it? Books, recorded books, already the data will be available. General articles that do not provide original research. A good way to determine uh, whether or not a source you are evaluating is primary or secondary nature is to ask yourself. That means a good way to determine whether or not a source you are evaluating is primary or secondary in nature is to ask yourself. You should have to come to know what the data is. What does primary data? You people come to know what is secondary data. So what we have to do, either we have to go with the primary source or we have to go for the secondary source. If you say it first hand, that means then it is likely a primary source. If you say it second hand, then it is likely a secondary source. In common parlance, for your explanation, I have collected this data. However, there is not always such a clear delineation. A secondary source may also be a primary source sometimes, depending on the context it's used in or the conditions it is taking place. Now, see the picture, sources of data. Just have a look for a glimpses of a minute, sources of primary data and sources of secondary data. The survey, by if you are looking for the primary data, we are doing the survey either by person or telephone or mail. Observation will be there, personal observation, mechanical observation, technical observation will also be there. Sometimes IT observation will also be there. Now social and geographical observation will also be there. Data observation will also be there, collected data. Now experimental, laboratory experimental, field experimental, all these are the examples of primary data. Coming to the sources of secondary data, library, already the books, recorded books will be there. The government, that means what the government budget will be there, what the government they have that 5 years back, all that data will be recorded and it will be there in the shape of the videos, audios or newspaper. uh, Sometimes it talks about the records which they had kept in the file or filing, we can say. Trade, professional and business, private business firms, advertising, media, university, research organization, all these things are nothing but the source of secondary data. Just have a look once again, this is very important for you. These are the examples I can say for the sources. What are the sources are there in our primary data and secondary data? Now we'll go for primary source once again. Primary data is data that is collected by a researcher from first-hand source using methods like survey, interviews or mock calls or experiments. It is collected with the research project in mind, directly from primary source. The term is used in contrast with the term secondary data. Now what does it mean? Let's have a detail about the secondary data. Secondary data is the data that has already been collected through the primary source and made ready available for researchers to use for their own research. It is a type of data that has already been collected in the past. See, in the common parlance, I can say that primary source is the real or the first hand source, either can be conducted by interviews or experiments or the surveys or in one face-to-face experiments or questionnaire. All these things will become the primary source. Secondary data is totally depend on the primary sources. They will collect from the primary sources, again they will collect and they will research it or they will utilize this data for their research or past work. Now researchers may have collected the data for a particular project that then made it available to be used by another researcher. The data may also have been collected for general use with no specific research purpose, like in the case of the national census. What does it mean? The researchers may have collected the data for a particular project. then made it available to be used by another researcher. The data may also have been collected for general use with no specific research. Then for general use, no specific or a particular research purpose will not be there. All this information, that means what are the things are included in the secondary source data, we are going to learn. Now, if you see the third point, it has been mentioned clearly. What does it mean? A data classified as a secondary for a particular research may be said to be primary for another research. This is the case when a data is being reused, making it a primary data for the first research and secondary data for the second research it is being used for. So what does it mean? If you are using the data on the specific field, that means for a specific research if you are doing that will become a primary source. If you are using the research for the general purpose, general use, then it is going to be a secondary data or source of secondary data. What are the sources of secondary data? Here are the examples you can see on the screen. Include textbooks, notebooks, generals, personal sources, newspaper, website, government records. Secondary data is also known to be readily available compared to that of primary data. It requires a very little research and need for manpower to use this resource. So, what does it mean that the research and development people, so after taking the product in their field, what they will do, if the product is already running in the market, then they will collect the secondary source of resource and they will continue with the product with their PLC, product life cycle. If a new company is starting in the market, if they want to start in the market, then they have to go for the primary source of data. They have to take the interviews, they have to do the survey, they have to conduct experiments, and laboratory tests will be there for their product to launch into the market. So it will be available, the data will be available with the government also. They have to provide the data. Yes, our product is good and genuine and it is for the society beneficially. Whereas for the secondary source of data, it is not required. The recorded data we can utilize, and with a small experiment or research we can utilize it, and we need a small effort and time will also be consumed very less over here. Now we'll go further. In the next slide, what is the method of data collection? If you see the picture, just have a look, you can come to know. See, in the primary source, I will explain. We are having observation, we are having interview, we are having questionnaire. Questionnaires will be collective questionnaire. What do you mean by collective questionnaire? A company will launch a product, and in the market when the consumer is coming to purchase it, they will keep the feedback form. So they will collect the information from person to person or by mail. If they are collecting the data on through online, the form will be sent through mail. So the customer will give the feedback form to us through mail, that is our online is nothing but the mail questionnaire. And with the help of the questions, that means name of the customer, contact number, address, phone number, occupation, and what is our product, either he is satisfied with our product or not, what are the defects and effects he is having or facing with our product, are he is happy or not. So they will go for the scaling measurement will be there. Is our product is good or very good or average or bad or worse. So that all the data will be collected by the company or the person with the help of the questionnaire. Either it can be a collective questionnaire or it can be a mail questionnaire. And coming to the collective questionnaire, a group of people, that means they will conduct the test in a group or in the audience or in the a group of people. So they will collect it from different departments. Collectively they will do it, all the peoples will do it in a group wise, all the group of peoples, like those groups again we have collected. So the collective data will be there. At a time we will collect all the forms from the customer who are sitting in the audience or in the conventional or what it may be. So all this collective data will be taken place and they will do the research on it and they will function on it. If it is possible, they can launch it their product if it is new in the market. And they will go for the interview. There will be structured interview and there will be unstructured interview. Structured interview will be there, that the questions will be there, like face to face will be there, the interview. And unstructured will be all of a sudden they will come into the market and they'll ask questions direct to the customer. Yes. They will structure some questions like that before coming, so they want to get the feedback or the data from the person. Coming to the observation, participant, they'll conduct a small program or a survey or for motivation for the product. So the peoples will be there, they are going to take place and they won't do it. And coming to the non-participants, just they will sign, that means an exam will be there, RSA they will conduct. All the participants should have to come in a way for playing the game, for essay or for uh, a group of meet, we can say. Coming to the non-participant, directly they will do the observation. They will observe how the reaction is there by the individual customers or the consumer. So all they will conduct the data. That all these sources is nothing but the primary source. Coming to the secondary source, we are having documents from government publications, earlier research, census, personal records, client histories, service records. Census once in a 10 years they will go for it, or 2 years, whatever it may be. So all this is the method of data collection. Now we'll go for the stage 2. That's nothing but the applied research and functional prototype. Now first we will learn what do you mean by applied research. Applied refers to a scientific study and research that seeks to solve practical problems. What are the practical problems they are having in the everyday life, or cure illness and innovative technologies? All these things will be taking place in the applied research. So here you can see on the screen that applied research refers to scientific study and research that seeks to solve practical problems. Applied research is used to find solutions to everyday problems, cure illness, and develop innovative technologies. See what will happen, the R&D department, what they will do after gathering or collecting the data either from the primary source or the secondary source. Then they will do a research, they'll apply the research on it to identify or to refer the scientific study. They'll study in a scientific way and research that seeks to solve practical problems. What are the problems the peoples are facing, or the companies facing, or the firm or the individuals are facing? So they will sort out everyday life. If I take an example of an individual, if a person XYZ want to come from his home to a college, what are the problems he is facing and what is the shortcut and how do we can take place that. So depending on this, after collecting that data, they will try to identify the problem, and after identifying they will function it to solve the problem, and they are going to get the solution for that problem. Now, what is functional prototype? Functional prototype captures both function and appearance. What are the functions that takes place for our applied research, and how it will be appearance of the intent design. That means they will make a design over it and they will create it. Though it may be created with different techniques and even different scale and from final design. A paper prototype is a printed or hand-drawn representation of the user interface of a software product. So we are having paperwork also, manual and technical work will also be there. So then the applied research and functional prototype, what will happen? We are having, if you see here, the 3D printing and rapid prototyping. We are a leader and expert in 3D. That means they are going to collect. In the olden days, it was very difficult for them to carry a computer. So what happened? They had taken out the laptop, so easily it can be carryable. Now the again tab came, again a smartphone came. So what is happening day by day? The data has been collecting and they are applying the research on it, and they are trying to solve the everyday problems of the human beings or the individuals. Now if you see here, what is the basic research, the expert is there, he will do what are the problems from the grassroots. They will go for the theoretical one, knowledge expansion will be there, and they'll apply their research. Practically they will go for it and betterment of the humans. So what does it mean? That means it should be whatever the research they are doing, it should be betterment, it should be helpful to the society, and they will collect the data and they it will be practically, it should be utilized. What are the errors or defects will be there. Now you can see, for example, Tata Sky, इसको बांध डाला तो life झिंगा लाला. So it is there and slogan will be there. So what does it mean? Practically that woman in that advertisement, it will she will show how to utilize the remote. Yellow color button will be there on the remote control. That means he should have to go for that trend. He doesn't know. That means the person will utilize the channels, wants to move one by one, one by one, one by one. But the technology is, if you are pressing that trend button, you are going to get the channels which you like mostly or which you observe mostly. So you can select it. So these are the shortcuts and these are the techniques, we can say, we are using in our daily life. So the basic work of the research is they will apply the research in it and they will work on that part. Now stage 3, engineering prototype. So here what we are having, we are having 3D computer modeling and prefabrication. Now what do you mean by engineering protocol? They will do the research in such a way that to reduce the time, to reduce the cost, to reduce the efforts. This is the main concept of engineering prototype. Now we learn first the first one, that is 3D model, computer model. 3D computer modeling are three-dimensional computer models are constructed using cylinder blocks and holes. Using these techniques is very advantageous. Why? Usually 3D computer models are being used as prototypes instead of the physical prototypes. Such models are termed as digital or virtual prototypes. Now if you see here, I forget to upload the photo. In this picture, the photo is there. It's totally showing that how does the model. That means the smart LED. What we can say, computers PC are coming nowadays. In the olden days, it will be like a big box will be there, and the CPU, central processing unit, will be a very big screen will be there, like TV, small TV we can say. But nowadays, what having very slim and slide and lightweight, and a very height weight we can say, light and weight with a good protocol. We are getting the thing. All these things will be considered using a cylinder blocks will be there and holes will be there, so that they can pass the air or the windows can flow properly. Now coming to prefabrication, this technology is also known as stereolithography. Stereolithography and other similar technologies are together known as a rapid prototype. It will be free from fabrication, and it is also in stereolithography. What does it mean? It is nothing but, stereolithography is nothing but, it's the kind of technology which is used in the system for freeing from all the fabrications. Now we'll go for the next one. Stage 4, pre-production and prototype or pilot production. See, pre-production prototype is also known as pilot production prototype. Pre-production prototypes are initially products. That means pre-production prototypes are initial products of the production process. This is a testing prototype used to check the production process ability. Before launching the product, they will do the production. Before giving the final product design or the sample or taking to the market, the pre-production prototype will be taken place. Here the researchers or the innovation peoples will do the research, and they will find out whether it is good or not. First they will collect some sample size, and they will do the research in that. If they find any uh, defects, or they want, they can modify it or they can deficiate it. So it depends on the research person. So what they will do, before production prototypes are initial products, what are the things that the sample size will be there. This is a testing. It's in kind of testing for prototype used to check the production process ability, how the production process is taking place, whether it is profitable for the company or for the firm or not. They will go for it, because they will do the paperwork or the blueprint work, and they will analyze the data. How much time it takes place, what's the price it is taking, how the transportation is taking place, what's the process or the techniques or the method utilizing by the manufacturing unit in our company, who are the skilled persons, who are the design persons, how the process is taking place in a proper way. All these things will be there. Now this prototype is also known as pilot production prototype, as I told you earlier. Now we will see what is the definition of the process. The process, as I told you, that it is depends upon the process, objective and product. Which one? R&D totally. Now what is the definition? The process of preparing the product for introduction into the marketplace. That's the main purpose of pre-production prototype. Now what is the objectivity? The objective of the pre-production prototype is to develop the manufacturing process and techniques required to produce the product. Now the product, as you know, the product of this activity is a pre-production. Prototypes are a process. It can be a product or it can be a process. Process is nothing but the service. Now so these are the important thing that we have to keep in mind, that whatever the process or whatever the product activity will be there, preparing the product for introduction into the marketplace. Just they will provide the product in such a way that it will be introduced in the market. So what does it mean? That means pre-production. They will do the sample size and they will work on it. And what is the main objective of this pre-production prototype is to develop the manufacturing process. To develop the manufacturing process and techniques required to produce the product. That is very important. Okay. Now product is nothing but the product of this activity is the pre-production prototype. Here you can see this is what are the things we have to use it. Pre-production, what is the process, everything, our modification and techniques we can use it. Now the next one is modification and testing. This is the fifth one I just mentioned. Product testing is testing new product concept with a group of target consumers to find out whether the concepts have strong consumer appeal or not. Concept testing includes two types. We are having two types of concept testing. One is a concept selection, one is a concept screening. Concept selection is nothing but several concepts and ideas are selected as per the requirements of the customers. Why they are collecting all these? For the betterment of the consumer. Either the consumers will appeal for our product or not. Now, concept screening is nothing but take the information from concept selection and then screen out the best outcome requirements of the customer. So, concept selection is a primary source and concept screening is a secondary source. Now, here product testing is testing new product concept with a group of target consumers to find out whether the concept have strong consumer appeal or not. So it has been recorded. Now we will go for the next stage, that is stage initial production and sales. See, in the modification and testing, what will happen in the fifth stage we are having, it's nothing but the consumer will take out the place, uh, either he is interested or not, the company will collect the data from him. Now what the customers will do, the customers will see the features of the product and they will purchase it. So what is the main work of the R&D department? The main work of the R&D department is they will do the testing, either this product will be run in the market or not. They will take out some product and they will go for the introduction, like if I take an example of four-wheeler car. So what they will do, they will bring the output in the market and they will do the small research. They will manufacture 50 or 60 units, for example. So what they will do, they will sell it and they will do the research on it. So what's the consumer concept towards it, either the consumer is selecting our product or not, or they are screening it. So they will do the selection. How they are doing the selection, on what basis? On the basis of the design, on the basis of the price, on the basis of the durability of the car, on the basis of the mileage, or on the basis of some other thing, or the size, or how it possible. So they will collect the data and they will go for the screen. If any defects are finding in that, they for upcoming units they will add that features and they will sell it in the market. So this will help us to identify for modification what are the things are there for the modifications, what we have to do and how the testing should have to takes place. Now we'll go for the last stage, that is initial production and sales. Initial production and sales of the product takes place only R&D, research and development. Initial production means the development and commercial production of mineral production products during the initial production period under the pilot project. Yes, this is the end. That means what does it mean? Initial production. What's the final production and sales? How it takes place? How the initial will takes place? Initially, production means the development and commercial production of mineral resources are the products. So what are the resources we are having for manufacturing? What are the natural minerals we are having? What are the commercial production we are having? How the production will takes place and how we are going to develop it? And how is the initial production period, what is the time period we have to, in which period we have to manufacture it, and how we are getting the minerals from suppliers. All these things will be there. So these are the 6 stages where we are going to analyze with our process of R&D. So I hope students have understand the concept, and please mention your attendance in the comment box for your classes. Thank you. Have a nice day.